If you want to create a high-performing team, but you're struggling to attract the right kind of talent, the very first thing you should take a look at with a critical eye is your organization's culture. There are lots of leaders out there that will tell you that the issue is that no one wants to work anymore and that talent is scarce. But the numbers don't actually back that up. Recent data indicates that a significant portion of the US workforce is actively seeking new employment opportunities right now. In November of 2024, Gallup surveyed 20,000 US workers and found that more than half of them were either actively searching for a new job or monitoring openings. That is the highest percentage since 2015. So it's not an out there problem. It's much more likely if you're struggling to attract talent that the calls are coming from inside the house. Hi there, I'm Kelly Stine, Gallup-Certified Strengths Coach and founder of the Lean Light Coach. And in today's video, we're going to talk about how to assess your organization's culture, identify what's working and what's not, and then make the improvements that will attract talent, foster collaboration, and set your team up for long-term success. Before we dive into all of that, I've created a free guide with this information and more strength-based strategies on how to attract top talent to your team. I'll tell you how to access it at the end of the video, so stick with me until then. Let's start off by clarifying what culture is. There's a fantastic metaphor that David Foster Wallace used in his famous 2005 commencement speech at Kenyon College that is now known as the what is water metaphor. Two young fish are swimming along when they meet an older fish who asks, "How's the water?" The young fish swim on, and after a while, one of them asks the other, "What the hell is water?" The metaphor highlights how the most fundamental aspects of our lives are often completely invisible to us simply because they're so pervasive. Culture is the water that we swim in every day. It's the often unseen environment that shapes our behaviors, values, beliefs, and assumptions. Just like the young fish don't recognize the water because they're immersed in it, we often don't notice our own culture until we step back and critically examine it. So the first step in improving culture is to first accept that yes, your organization has one. Every organization has a culture that's made up of unspoken expectations, assumptions, and norms about how people should behave, what they should value, and how they should interact with one another. Once you can accept that there is a culture, which isn't to say that you continue to passively agree with it, but is only to say that you recognize that it exists, the next step is to start assessing that culture. So here are a few examples of questions that you could ask to start assessing your current culture. What do you enjoy most about being part of this team? How well do you feel your strengths are recognized and utilized in our team's projects or goals? What do you think we could improve to create a more supportive and collaborative team environment? How comfortable do you feel sharing new ideas or feedback in our team? And what do you think defines our team's identity or how we stand out in the organization? Additionally, pay attention to your team members. Just watch them. How do they communicate, collaborate, and handle challenges? Look for patterns in behavior. Notice what's working well. Notice where there are roadblocks. An outside perspective in this way can be really helpful because oftentimes it's hard to see the water when you're one of the people swimming in it. So bringing in an external coach or consultant can often offer fresh eyes and really valuable insights. This is often why teams will call me in. And when I work with those teams, one of the things I do is I have each member take the CliftonStrengths assessment, and then I map everyone's strengths onto a team grid. What is great about that is it makes it really easy for all of us to have a visual aid so we can work together to identify the team's collective strengths, their talent gaps, and the culture that they're all swimming in. If a consultant isn't in your budget or you're just not ready for that yet, which is understandable, you can gather all this information on your own. You can do that through surveys, you can do that through focus groups, or you can do that through one-on-one conversation with your team members. Additionally, you can look at team metrics like turnover rates, engagement levels, and insights from onboarding and exit interviews. All of this can provide valuable clues about what your team's culture consists of. Once you understand your culture, the next step is making intentional improvements. You can ask yourself questions like, what in the culture is currently attracting talent? What in the culture is repelling talent? And what talent is needed to improve the culture? So I worked with a team that was very talented, high performing, and work together really well. But despite all that internal success, they found it really challenging to secure the resources and the personnel that they needed in order to meet their goals. As I began to work with them, I noticed this very subtle us versus them mindset. See, they took great pride in their own capabilities as a team, which was understandable because they were so high performing, but it was unintentionally creating some barriers in communication and collaboration with other departments. This made it harder for them to access the external support and resources that they needed. The team believed that the issue was only external, thinking that other teams just didn't understand or really appreciate their value. However, after we went through their talents and strengths, it became clear that there were aspects of that culture that were contributing to the challenge. When I reviewed their CliftonStrengths grid, I noticed that connectedness and includer were in their bottom 5 and Relator was in their top 10. So this suggests that building relationships beyond their immediate group was not a natural focus for them. To help them strengthen those connections and foster greater cross-team collaboration, I recommended 3 key steps to this team. So these steps, they not only enhance their team culture, making it more attractive to talent and making it easier for them to ascertain it, but it also helped them identify and bring in the right kind of talent that would complement their strengths. The first tip that I gave this team was to tap into their untapped talent. This team had incredible natural talents that weren't really being fully utilized. So, for example, one of their team members had woo, connectedness, and communication in their top 5, a fantastic combination for building relationships and fostering understanding. This individual could take the lead in creating stronger connections with other teams. The team also had learner and input among their top strengths, which made them naturally curious and resourceful, ideal for understanding the needs of other departments and finding collaborative opportunities. So the key here was to help them use their strengths intentionally. By leaning into their curiosity and leveraging their ability to connect, they could begin building better relationships across the organization, ultimately improving their ability to secure the resources and support that they needed in order to thrive as a team. The second tip was for them to set clear ground rules for collaboration with outside teams. Without clear expectations, navigating relationships with other teams can be tricky. So I recommended creating some simple practical policies to guide interactions with other departments. Some examples could be some protocol on how to initiate and structure collaborative conversations, what to expect when sharing resources or giving feedback to other teams or departments, and clear roles and responsibilities during cross-team projects. Having these guidelines in place could reduce uncertainty and awkwardness, creating smoother and more productive relationships. It also gives the team a supportive framework for moments when their natural strengths may not automatically steer them towards collaboration with other teams. And then the final tip that I gave them was to consider hiring someone who would fill some of the talent gaps. No team can excel at everything, and that's okay. Collaboration, especially within a team, thrives on complementary skills. So I suggested that they consider hiring somebody who naturally excels at building bridges across teams. This person wouldn't necessarily have to have connectedness or includer in their top 5, but they should bring the ability to create strong, productive relationships across the organization. By adding someone with this expertise, the team could focus on their strengths while benefiting from a dedicated connector who helps foster collaboration and bridges the gaps where needed. Diagnosing and improving your team's culture is an ongoing process. That first step is in recognizing that culture is the water that you swim in every day. Once you understand your culture, you can then make strategic changes to ensure that it attracts the right talent and promotes collaboration. If you're ready to take the next step towards creating that kind of culture, download my free guide, The Strength-Based Leaders Playbook for Attracting Top Talent. You can do that by clicking the link in the video description below. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video helpful, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more strength-based strategies. If you have thoughts or questions about your own team culture, drop them in the comments. I would love to hear from you. And then I'll see you next time.